Hey guys, tonight we're going to unfurl a tale that's not just history. It's a cozy, peculiar journey back in time, perfect for when you're nestled in your cocoon of mismatched pajamas. Imagine, if you will, waking up as a medieval executioner. Now, that's a job description that you probably didn't see coming, right? You probably won't survive this without a chuckle or two. Before you get too comfy, feel free to tap like or subscribe, but only if you're genuinely enjoying the calm around here. Tell me where you're listening from and what time it is over there. I love seeing how far this sleepy little journey reaches. Now, go ahead and lower the lights. Maybe let a fan hum in the background. And let's drift gently into tonight's story together. You wake up in a small, drafty room. The kind where the cold seems to sneak up and nibble at your toes, no matter how deep you burrow under the blankets. The morning light filters through a patchy wooden window, casting soft, sleepy patterns on the walls. As you stretch out, trying to shake off the last shreds of slumber, there it is in the corner. A selection of tools that remind you your job today isn't flipping through emails or scrolling social media. Nope. Today, you're resurrecting the life of a medieval executioner, and no amount of fuzzy slippers will soften that reality. Kicking off the blankets, you can almost hear a chorus of medieval birds chirping their questionable tune. A deep breath in, and you're ready, or as ready as anyone can be, for another day in this messy chapter of history. Now, this job, it's not what you'd call a crowd pleaser. Sure, you were necessary, like that one app on your phone you keep threatening to delete, but can't, because, well, it's actually doing something important in the background. First historical fact of the night. Executioners were often not solely executioners. They had this perplexing dual role in the community. They were sometimes medical advisors as well. Now let that sink in. One moment, someone might be avoiding eye contact with you at the marketplace. The next, they're showing you a questionable rash, hoping you've got the remedy. As the tale unfolds, you find yourself pondering why you'd ever need to use a massive axe or a heavy sword for anything but leaf-chopping fun in a TikTok video. Yet, there it is, glistening, heavy, and quite literally the weight of responsibility resting on your shoulders. And while it might seem like you've got it all together, honestly, it's a bit like setting 5 alarms and still ignoring them all. You live on the edge of a double-edged sword, pun very much intended, and it's teetering precariously over the line of respectability and fear. Now, here's where the strange humor creeps in. Have you ever wondered if executioners had forums back then? Like a medieval version of Reddit, minus the memes? Honestly, how else would you swap embarrassing stories about the time Mrs. Clatterhat fainted before you even got started? I bet that would have gotten plenty of upvotes. Historians still argue whether executioners were feared more than they were relied upon. It's a question as tangled and layered as your warming blanket burrito. Some say folks were secretly appreciative when justice was dealt, especially if it meant moving on to more pressing issues, like figuring out why the cows kept mysteriously ending up in the wrong fields. So here you are, with tools of the trade on one arm, and perhaps a side of unsolicited medical advice on the other. Your day involves an intersection of fear, respect, and just a pinch of community gossip as you adjust to these routine oddities. Like the man who might soon need both your gruesome services and a soothing balm for a curious bump, you realize not all heroes wear capes. Some wear the medieval equivalent of what you'd call a business casual robe. It's time to leave this cozy little corner of history for the night. But don't worry, we'll turn the page to tomorrow's strange surprises with just as much humor and less edge, just like replaying the cozy parts of your favorite bedtime playlist. Until then, let the whir of your fan be your lullaby, and the glow of the silent phone screen your nightlight. Sweet dreams, and never forget, there's always a story behind the history bookends. You stroll down a cobblestone path, the misty morning air clinging to you like a stubborn cold that just won't quit. Each step echoes softly through the still sleepy medieval town, where charming little cottages line the winding streets, their thatched roofs dusted with the dew of another new day. As you pass, the warm glow of fireplaces flickers in the windows, a comforting sight that almost lets you forget the task that lies ahead. Almost. Today, you find yourself contemplating the array of tools you've come to know, each with its own peculiar quirk, like characters in a medieval sitcom. You've got the mighty axe, your trusty, albeit hefty, go-to for the grander acts. A little unwieldy, sure, but there's something satisfyingly final about its thud. Then there's the slender rope that slinks like a serpent, a tool of finesse and precision. Honestly, sometimes it feels more like wrangling a mischievous garden hose while your neighbors pretend they're not watching over the fence. Now, here's a weird tidbit for your medieval daydreams. The axe wasn't always seen as the pinnacle of executioner tools. In fact, in earlier times, they used swords, with the executioner often donning a kind of mask to hide his identity, the medieval equivalent of replying LOL without actually laughing. Imagine swinging a sword while trying not to trip over your own cloak. Yes, awkward dances did happen, and town square gossips had a field day. With each tool polished and ready, you join the thrumming heart of the town square. There's a palpable hum in the air, not quite the fan-like lullaby of your usual bedtime ambience, but close enough. Villagers gather under the guise of daily market errands, but you know better. This is the medieval version of scrolling through TikTok at 3 a.m. Everyone's here for the main event, curious, and yes, a tad morbidly interested. The environment isn't exactly conducive to your meditation apps. It's more like a chaotic mix of expectations and the occasional clatter of hecklers who clearly didn't read about handling workplace stress in medieval scrolls. But then, who did? It's the part of the job that doesn't make it to the highlight reel, or in this case, the grim ink sketches in dusty tomes. As you finish setting up with an exceptionally nonchalant grace, because really, who else would do this job with flair? You notice a debate simmering amidst the shield leaners in the crowd. Historians still argue whether the executioner held significant sway over legal decisions or was merely a final cog in the justice wheel. It's as divisive as deciding whether pineapple belongs on pizza, or arguing which came first, the chicken or the popular delusion of witch's egg. And now, for a modern touchstone, it helps to imagine your role as an influencer of sorts. Bear with me here. You've got the eyes of the village on you, each action dissected, maybe even admired from afar, as whispers and rumors trickle through like poorly written fan fiction of your daily deeds. With a final glance over the jeering yet intrigued audience, the job begins. It's an odd choreography, a dance you're unfortunately well versed in. The act itself is mechanical, almost rote, but within the crowd, eyes widen, mouths whisper. Your reputation, your notoriety, however unseemly, thrives in this moment. As the day draws to a close, the crowds dissipate back to their cozy corners, like notifications disappearing when you finally stop pretending your group chat is muted. There's a strange sense of relief, almost a steady exhale, as the sun dips below the horizon, leaving only whispers of the day's deeds behind. You trudge back home with your kit in tow, the tools clanking softly, silent companions after a noisy, quipping crowd. As you collapse into a chair, the fire crackling its soothing melody, you ponder how today's events will weave into tomorrow's stories. Rest comes unexpectedly, like finding your phone on 2% right before bed. A semi-nostalgic panic that gives way to acceptance that yes, things charge better when you're not obsessing over them. You close your eyes, let the soft drone of the streets lull you into slumber, and remember that the anachronisms of history are sometimes just like bedtime sagas. Familiar, unexpected, and ever so slightly haunting. The next morning, as your feet find the chill of the wooden floor, you wrap yourself in your cloak, wishing it was more like your favorite hoodie still clinging to the scent of fresh laundry. The scent of nostalgia mingles with that of a freshly baked loaf from the bakery next door. The smell, wafting through the thin walls, works better than any medieval alarm clock. Today's mission, ever so thrilling, is not about the gallows or the axe, but about managing the tangled web of village gossip. Because here's the thing, being an executioner is like living in a perpetual loop of who gets to be unfriended next. And this, if you think about it, is surprisingly close to navigating social media drama without the mute button. As you step into the bustling thoroughfare, the usual hustle and bustle embrace you. Chickens cluck their indignation as you meander through, their ruffled feathers mirroring the discontent you imagine resting behind the polite smiles tossed your way. You can't help but grin, a slightly sardonic twist to your lips, reflecting internally on the oddity of your status, simultaneously infamous and engagingly mysterious. Images of medieval executioners may conjure visions of terrifying figures who revel in their grisly work. But the reality is more akin to the modern-day influencers managing brand content alongside IRL chaos. You keep the line between fear and fascination intriguingly blurred, because honestly, where's the fun otherwise? Now, for some quirky side exploration. Executioners often took on other jobs within the community. Some were employed to clean latrines or collect taxes, professions that kept them relevant in medieval society, like trying to stay active in multiple group chats, hoping one is awkwardly alive. The balancing act of duty and dreariness was real. Not every day involved flashy decapitations. Sometimes it was just about ensuring rats didn't overthrow the grain stores. You waved to familiar faces, parting through entities of murmured hellos and the occasional raised brow. A subtle reminder that yesterday's dread is today's small talk. Medieval towns, after all, are tight-knit communities tied together by their own brand of tales. Amidst this quirky routine, the specter of your work lingers. Historians still argue over whether executioners' families faced social stigma or were accepted into the fabric of village life. Did people avert their eyes in the market? Or did they invite you over for some ale and whispered superstitions? The debate ensues like a cat chasing its own tail, or rather, your sleepy cat, purring as it finds the perfect donut position at the foot of your bed. The morning drifts away, making room for a vibrant afternoon, where the bleating of sheep and the chatter of tradespeople intermingle like the many apps open on your phone screen, each vying for your attention, but each quickly forgotten. Here, amid the braying and bargaining, you ponder how to manage the delicate village PR with a wave and a nod. The executioner's charm. It's not just about the grim reputation. Sometimes it's about upholding the semblance of ordinary life amidst the macabre theater. The sun arcs toward the horizon. Your daydreams of court dramas and street theatrics softly melding into reality. Threads of twilight stitch the sky as you step back into your abode, the welcoming darkness a familiar comfort. As you settle, the weight of the day begins to unfurl, tangling itself into dreams less harried by your professional peculiarities. With a final stretch, the room settles into the hushed tones of evening, accompanied by the comforting presence of your favorite chair that groans familiarly under your weight. Here, in this cocoon of solitude, the world feels far away. The records of today's pageantry, down in the village square, seems almost tale-like, an echo of gossamer threads, weaving stories across the medieval landscape. You drift, the wisp of candlelight flickering in your hand-lapped mind. And as you slip into sleep's waiting arms, you think about how wonderfully bizarre it is being the linchpin of quiet chaos. Sweet dreams of tomorrow. Remember, there's always something new waiting under streams of candlelit whispers. Come sunrise, you roll out of bed to another day dotted with unpredictable events and more than a little eccentricity. The sleepy town shakes off its dreams, returning to life as swiftly as the villagers can down their morning draught of ale. A bit like chugging coffee to chase away the fog of last night's deep YouTube dive into Renaissance festival fails, or something similarly niche. Your task today teeters on the edge of proper decency and social stigma, an oddly routine affair in your life as an executioner. Today won't involve rope or blade, but rather the art of conversation. You see, being an executioner isn't just about handling the grisly axe. There's this side gig of dealing with the villagers who tentatively tiptoe around their ailments, hoping for your peculiar blend of practical advice. It's an odd mix, no doubt. The executioners doubling as rudimentary medical advisors, like your distant cousin who gives questionable life advice at family dinners. Why villagers thought executioners held healing prowess is a topic for low-lit tavern discussions, resembling the kind of late-night chats where you question the life choices that led you to binge-watch DIY disaster compilations. So, there you are, prepared to endure this small parade of villagers clutching assorted poultices and peculiar remedies, eager for your judgment on their maladies. This gruff, yet surprisingly intimate interaction is reminiscent of people gathering their LinkedIn approval strategy, mastering an art without ever quite understanding the medium. Here's a curious fun fact. Some medieval executioners were indeed known for their ability to cauterize wounds and administer herbal concoctions. Think of it like a blacksmith moonlighting as a bartender. It's wild, right? The thought of the man who swings axes also handling medicinal herbs repositions your understanding of versatility, much like realizing your favorite teacher can also skateboard. The sun arcs overhead, time slipping by as you usher the villagers through their peculiar assembly line of maladies. Each offers a snippet of old wives' tales or gossip, secrets shared in hushed tones, akin to whispering over Discord about the latest fantasy game glitch. Despite daylight washing over the cobbled pathways outside, inside your makeshift clinic, where soft light filters through old tapestry drapes, it seems trapped in a timeless squish between laughter and lamentation. As you mix herbs and listen to woes recounted on the backdrop of life's enduring loop, a peculiar kinship forms. Despite the role you play before them, there's a dance between necessity, fear, an odd fascination. It's a bit like those recurring characters in sitcoms, grounding, familiar, starkly themselves amidst the storyline chaos. The debate abounds as to how such trust transpired. Historians still argue over whether villagers genuinely trusted the executioner's remedies or participated out of morbid curiosity. After all, aligning yourself with the person everyone whispered about behind hands, clasped over ale tankards, might have held taboo allure more than a genuine hope for healing. With the day drawing to a close on yet another montage of peculiar remedies and stifled giggles, yours and theirs alike, you finally step back into the evening air. Lanterns slowly blink on through the town, casting golden pools on the familiar cobblestones. They melt into the gentle blue of sky's embrace, whispering echoes of bustling market day life. You make your way home, replaying the day's peculiarities like slides in a forgotten desktop folder. Back within the comfort of your own four walls, the quiet sings, or rather hums, quite like the fan's soothing drone as you nestle into your spot. As the room darkens, shadows etch lax routines of work and wanderings across the beams of your ceiling. A place where nightmares, dreams, and histories entwine in spiraled tales. Slumber creeps, blurring edges. You let it take the reins, cocooned in anticipation of whatever tomorrow will unfurl, like flipping through the final pages of your favorite book where the end refuses to come. And just like that, you drift off, cocooned in a tapestry that owns time and timelessness alike. As morning light strokes the slumbering village awake, you roll out of your warm covers, feet reluctantly hitting the chilly floor. It's like the medieval version of setting your foot on cold tiles, except maybe you don't have a heated bathroom waiting. You pull yourself together, cloak wrapped snugly, a poor substitute for any modern-day comforter, but it'll do. Today's task: navigating the unwieldy currents of medieval office politics. The title might overstate the reality, but heck, isn't that what job descriptions always do, anyway? Your task is much like scrolling through unread notifications, hoping they'll disappear without addressing them. Yet, here you are again, ready to charm and navigate the day with a tiny comfort of yesterday's memories tucked away in your mind. You trudge down familiar streets, cobbled stones whispering underneath your boots. The market is already bustling with activity, villagers calling out their routines, the to and fro of bargaining a comforting lull like the background chatter in a cozy cafe. Real-life Sims, moving round and round, each with their role, their needs to meet. Today, you have to deal with the local aristocracy, an adventure that either dips into delightful discourse or devolves into endlessly whispered intrigues. Honestly, sometimes it's like comparing the nuance of a Shakespearean plot to a modern-day reality TV script. Wildly unpredictable, always amusing. Being an executioner, you've unexpectedly got a certain pull. The village whirs around its invisible ladder, and you're a rung that fits somewhere between absolutely necessary and let's not get too friendly, shall we? An open question: how did executioners navigate these social hierarchies without losing their heads? Metaphorically speaking, of course. Historians still argue about whether they were pawns or players, crucial yet confined by the very roles societies thrust them into. Now, the quirky side note worth sharing today: some executioners were actually excused from taxes. Their grim work earned them a little financial leeway, which sounds oddly like that one workplace perk everyone pretends isn't mildly absurd. Imagine chatting with the taxman over ale, showcasing just how interesting life could get with fewer financial obligations. You arrive at the meeting place, greeted with an array of nods and tilted brows, a language of their own. The aristocrat you're meeting holds a presence much like a faded king in forgotten tapestries, acquainted enough to command respect, yet elusive in a way that makes you second-guess their tale. You delve into discussions, careful to steer clear of quicksand sinkholes of drama. It's all about maintaining this delicate equilibrium, like balancing a sword on its blade, or quite like artfully dodging political conversations at family dinners. Pleased with your delicate performance at court, you navigate back through winding alleys where escaping chickens become daily obstacles. They flap, cackling wildly, as if navigating their own political spectrum of barn importance. You can't help but chuckle, realizing that perhaps some age-old riddles never change. The day turns to dusk. As the sun dips behind rolling hills, casting long shadows across the village, you find yourself contemplating all this strange social maneuvering. They'll talk, for sure, crafting tales and whispers to fill the tavern later. You'll be there too, perhaps, savoring their narrative theater. Back at home, the hearth's glow welcomes you, a beacon of solitude amidst the day's clamor. You collapse into a chair, feeling the weariness of this unending charade of roles and reputations. It's a comforting feeling in itself, this routine of familiar chores and countless narratives. Evening stretches her cloak over the world, and your eyes close gently, letting dreams nudge at the edges of reality. You wonder about these shifting sands and how they move through time, through your life, through history itself, and with the music of a distant lute murmuring you toward dreamtime, you slip into sleep's comforting grasp, carried on the backs of stories, both told and untold. As you drift into the hazy tendrils of another dawn, the village quietly hums into life, a gentle symphony unfolding under the golden embrace of morning light. The cool air feels crisp against your skin, waking you slowly as you shake off remnants of dreams that mingled strange tales with reality. Your day begins anew, and with it, the thaw of unexpected workplace hazards. Because let's face it, swinging blades aren't the only things that pose risks. You step into the day, wrapped snug in a cloak that's not quite as comforting as dark mode in a bright room, but it holds its own against the chill. The village streets, still sleepy, eventually begin to echo with the sing-song chatter of folks emerging from their cottage havens, ready for the mundane marvels this new day promises. In today's peculiar chapter, you're dealing with the various hidden hazards of your line of work. Honestly, we all think we've got hazardous work environments, from teetering stacks of binders to wayward cables masquerading as tripwires. But you, dear executioner, you have your own curious palette of precariousness. As you pass through the marketplace, the familiar smells of spiced meats and freshly baked bread waft enticingly through the air. Nothing quite beats those aromas, grounding you amid potential pitfalls. Then again, they don't exactly offer much by way of armor against the unexpected twists in the day's unfolding narrative. A chuckle escapes as you think about one bizarre hazard you face: the surprising avian attacks. Yes, sometimes stray birds manage to become nuisance co-stars, interrupting grim proceedings with impromptu avian escapades. It's like trying to shoot the perfect TikTok dance video, only to have a random cat stroll right through your shot. In reality, these feathered pests add a certain slapstick humor to the role, a reminder that the medieval world is nothing if not resourceful in creating unexpected comedy. Now, here's a more intriguing tidbit. Sometimes, the most unsettling hazards are far more intangible. The persistent whispers and the clinging shadows of superstition. These undercurrents are like unending murmur chains in the medieval grapevine, where curses and misfortunes are assigned with little evidence yet high conviction. It's akin to enduring a seemingly endless update of rumors, and let's not forget the occasional stink eye from the superstitious few. As per scholars, there's heated debate about whether these superstitions were born out of real fear or simply an attempt to make sense of inexplicable events, a dance played on the outskirts of logic. Historians still argue the impact of these beliefs on medieval life. Is it a testimony to human creativity in the gaps of understanding, or the sheer power of communal storytelling echoing through history's corridors? By midday, the village is alive, weaving together vignettes of daily life, all intersecting with hilariously dramatic finesse. The randomness of medieval hazards runs parallel to the absurdities of modern life, like updating your resume on the floor, while the task you meant to finish looms over like an unfinished tapestry. With your duties completed for now, you wander back as dusk hues paint the sky. The town rests easy, the marketplace wrapped in shadows like a familiar cloak. Wisps of conversation still carried on the breeze. You pause and breathe in the peace of another day's end, pondering the wide, softly drawn line between calm and chaos that life sketches all around you. The chill deepens outside, while inside, your solitary hearth crackles its warming tune, conjuring up the kind of quiet that makes eyelids heavy and thoughts gentle. At home, you're free from the day's hazards, sipping broth from a favorite chipped mug, where each crack whispers tales over forgotten hearths, lending comfort against the long night. It's here, wrapped once more in sleep's embrace, that the line blurs between things uneventful and extraordinary. They collide silently, creating dreamscapes where unraveled histories rest alongside, weaving you the cradle of a sleepy night. As your mind melds with the night's fabric, thoughts flutter gently on borrowed wings, surrendering to the quiet calls of restful slumber. Morning arrives with a gentle insistence, sunlight tiptoeing through the cracks in your shutters, casting soft, sleepy patterns on the walls. The day's first breath is threaded with the scents of dew-damp earth and the distant allure of baking bread. Rising from the embrace of dreams, you prepare for another cycle in the storied tapestry of village life as a medieval executioner, a role as storied as the ancient cobblestones beneath your feet. Today, the village air buzzes with anticipation, as if something noteworthy hangs in the balance. You tie your cloak, its warmth as familiar as a well-loved hoodie, and step into the morning bustle. It's the kind of day where everything feels possible, where adventure and mishap blend in the air, a touch of whimsy accompanying each step. In today's agenda, you'll discover that sometimes an executioner becomes an unexpected celebrity, a figure with a peculiar notoriety. It's a bit like going viral for something you didn't mean to. The medieval equivalent of the random tweet that suddenly catapults you into the village consciousness. Historians still argue about these transitions from feared executioner to a figure either respected or reluctantly admired. Why? Because even in an era brimming with grim duties, there were those who found an odd charm in your presence. Amidst today's lively square, the vibrancy of the markets unfolds. The townsfolk barter in a language of gestures and exclamations, like a collaborative theater performance set against the tapestry of daily life. Here, the executioner's role is paradoxically crucial, a character etched sharply in communal folklore. Here's a quirky tidbit for today. Some executioners developed unique flares or gimmicks that made them memorable, like a signature move on a competitive baking show. But, a bit more somber. It added a layer of performance to the proceedings, an attempt, perhaps, to imbue humanity into the otherwise grim spectacles. You navigate through conversations, nodding at fables of near misses and secret heroics told in wide-eyed whispers. It's not just a job. It's a narrative woven with curiosity, an inevitable part of village life. This attention sometimes transforms you into an informal village sage, revered just as much for your opinions as for your role. Throughout the day, you help resolve disputes, essentially the medieval LinkedIn referee, where reason is met with respect and often a touch of theatrical persuasion. You mediate on everything from livestock disagreements to lovers' quarrels, keeping the peace between avian antics and human amusement. At the heart of it all, you consider the peculiar juxtaposition, the tales and whispers, fleeting reputations, and the unseen bridges you forge. In this tapestry, you are both actor and audience, weaving through a life less ordinary amidst public performances and private reflections. The sun dips slowly, a golden farewell over the cobbled streets. The village nestles itself into twilight, an array of lanterns piercing the veil of night. Evening finds you exchanging the day's stories for the whispers of hearthside rest, your mind thick with the textures of a life both elaborate and intriguingly simple. As you lay down, the room wraps you in its familiar shadows, the fire stilled but warm, finding its rhythm in the soft snores of a sleepy dog curled nearby. You sink into the solace of nightfall, the undulating hum of history cradling you within its folds. Dreams sweep in, rich and tangled with tales untold, remembering the balance of the medieval dance you've carved, a delicate symphony that lilts quietly as sleep envelops you. As dawn spreads its soft, rosy fingers across the village, you awake to another day in the life of medieval oddity. The world beyond your window stirs, casting off the whispers of night to embrace the rustle of morning with all its unpredictable promises. Each day seems to arrive with new nuances in this role of yours. A medieval executioner dancing precariously between fascination and normalcy. You ready yourself in the small, comforting rituals of morning. Lace up your boots, drape your cloak. It's akin to the modern ritual of checking your phone notifications first thing, only to realize you've once again subscribed to an extra layer of emails you never asked for. Today's passage through this quaint village universe provides a sneak peek into more than just the grim spectacles of execution. Today, you experience the curious intersection of medicine and superstition. It's a role that should have come with a disclaimer as ironic and surreal as a love for DIY projects in the 21st century. Don't try this at home. Has it ever struck you as funny that medieval society, in its infinitely creative wisdom, often sought the advice of executioners in matters of health? It's a bit like asking a celebrity chef for app development tips, a leap of faith driven by reputation and not necessarily logic. As you glance around the bustling market square, the clamor and chatter swell into an ever-present hum, encouraging you to dive into your unsanctioned medicinal tasks. Today's peculiar crowd has assembled with its litany of ailments, suggestions, and solutions all tangled together like headphones in a pocket. Now, an interesting tidbit as you navigate this surprising realm. Executioners often encourage the use of specific herbs or advised on some unusual medieval wellness rituals. Imagine equating this to the modern frenzy over kale smoothies and yoga, with an added pinch of grounded apprehension and a sprinkle of secret superstition. Historians still argue over whether these practices stemmed from actual knowledge passed down through eccentric channels or if they were birthed from a captivating confidence ascribed to those wielding both justice and judgment. Was their insight hidden within their observations, or simply the allure of a figure who straddled two divergent worlds? Midday unfolds as villagers relay their stories, ailments interwoven with whispers of what happened to whom and why someone's cow seems to be acting strangely. Again, it's like filtered glimpses into daily medieval life, as messy and absurdly wholesome as watching the latest reality TV drama unfold in real time, all the while swaddled in the scent of fresh bread and bustling humanity. When evening unfurls her cloak, painting the town in dim strokes, the villagers return to their homes, some with remedies in hand, or perhaps just the reassurance that they were heard. Meanwhile, you retreat to where shadows and quiet enfold you, an inviting alcove where reason and reflection snugly come together. As the lantern's flickering light dances on the walls, you allow the light wash of fatigue to gently seep through. The day's clamor fades to that soft, end-of-day murmur you welcome like an old song. Another day is complete, the symphony of history quietly retreating until it becomes a whisper. With this day folded into the annals of quaint reverie, the night's embrace is soft and understanding. Sleep reaches out, a lullaby composed of quiet moments and odd musings, where intricate tales intermingle with dreams. You slip into a cozy slumber, wrapped in the warmth of a medieval melody, inviting you to wander once more through realms of gently entangled histories. As the soft morning light gently nudges you awake, you find yourself in the comforting grasp of another medieval morning. The village, with its sleepy charm, slowly stretches out of the night's embrace, much like someone reluctantly rising from a pile of warm blankets, one toe daring the chill of the day. Today, your journey through time brings you squarely in the realm of what might be considered self-care, medieval style. Picture this: even executioners, those perceived as the solemnest of beings, needed a respite from the whirlwind of duty. It's almost like finding a cozy little nook where you can indulge in modern delights, like binge-watching dessert baking shows while eating instant noodles. Same vibe, different century. Stepping out into the bustling street, you're greeted with the comforting chaos of village life. Vendors hawking their wares, children chasing each other gleefully, and the smell of freshly baked goods teasing your senses. These are moments that make you stop, breathe deeply, and allow yourself a pause, a break, however brief, from the rotating sequence of your sometimes grim rituals. Now, here's the quirky little twist. Medieval executioners weren't just handed over endless haunts of gallows and headsmen's axes. They often enjoyed liberties that others in their station did not, a little more autonomy in their downtime endeavors. This freedom allowed for engaging in slightly eccentric pastimes, perhaps taking care of mundane tasks like leatherworking, where creativity and function danced together like an unexpected duet. Can you imagine one taking pride in crafting a unique pair of boots amidst their routine, a personal project akin to updating a Pinterest board with ambitious DIY home decor. So as you wander through the village, people nod warily, paying back your presence with the same cocktail of deference and curiosity. It's within this dynamic landscape that executioners could find camaraderie with the artist, crafting tales that slipped through these sunlit cobblestone streets, etching themselves alongside the routine of life. A bit like discovering a local band and watching them grow into a festival headliner while cheering from the sidelines. There's a peculiar satisfaction in these moments. The tendrils of task and toil replaced with a cozy sense of anonymity. You revel in the knowledge that you have today to do with as you please, untethered, like a smartphone on an unlimited data plan. This interlude allows you space to recuperate, to release the weighty cape of responsibility, and just enjoy the simpler, quieter side of everyday existence. By late afternoon, the sun casts long shadows that stretch luxuriously over rolling fields and homely facades. The air hums softly, a low song akin to the gentle buzz of distant bees, inviting you to rest a spell on the inviting grass. Here, in this green haven lined with daisies and buttercups, you reflect on the artistry of life's intricate weave. You are part of a story, textured and layered, a harmony of work, rest, and discovery. As twilight begins its soft descent, heralding the evening's embrace, an air of serenity bathes both village and executioner alike. Your once empty hands cradle the accompaniments of peaceful leisure, perhaps a simple book of poetic verses or a half-finished sculpture whittled from wood. Solid, tangible relics that remain devoid of the day's harsher shadows. Returning home, the familiarity of your abode welcomes you back with open arms. The quiet whisper of the night envelops you, the hum of past lives reverberating in the deep tranquility. You lay your head down, your thoughts gently untangling as they blend seamlessly with the fabric of night. And as sleep edges its way into your consciousness, you float on the plumes of gentle dreams, wandering into realms where narratives softly unfold amidst the quiet hum of history, winding from one world to another, urging you to return again and again. The morning sun peers gently through the window, casting a golden glow across the room as you rouse from slumber. It's a day much like any other, and yet the texture of village life seems richer, imbued with layers of stories and unseen connections. Like a favorite playlist on repeat, these scenes are familiar yet comforting, with each day offering its own nuance, its own slight shift in narrative melody. Today, it's time to delve into the unspoken alliances, the fascinating dance of medieval office politics that even the executioner must navigate. A medieval episode of Game of Thrones, but with fewer dragons and a lot more interaction with fidgety tavern patrons. Slipping into the day, you find the village awakening with its usual symphony. Wagons trundling over cobblestones, merchants beginning to arrange their stalls with the precision of a retailer during a holiday sale marathon. There's a rhythm here, a heartbeat that echoes through the tight web of alleys and market squares, where everyone knows everyone else's business like a living, breathing group chat where nothing ever truly stays muted. You meander through this tableau vivant, acknowledging nods and whispers that dance around your presence like dust motes in the morning light. Being an executioner doesn't automatically grant you respect or warmth, but it does weave an intricate web of necessity that bleeds into various societal tiers. It's a balancing act, not unlike walking a tightrope strung across the demands of authority figures. Ye olde performance review, if you will. Within this intricate dance, you find yourself navigating interactions with key figures like the village reeve or the local lord. Figures whose interests are as layered and complex as a medieval tapestry. At times, the dialogue flows like a convivial dinner party, with endless jests served alongside ale. At others, it's an uptight affair, shadowed by hidden agendas, where every word spoken becomes a strategic move. Here's your quirky fact of the day. Executioners were often employed to carry out duties aside from their main role, including serving as unofficial spy masters. In the shuffle of history, their access within different social strata allowed them a unique vantage point, a foot in both the lofty courts and dusty streets. It's like someone holding the ultimate backstage pass, providing not just musical notes, but social harmony, or discord, depending on who you're asking. Just as modern professionals must craft clever email threads or walk the line between constructive criticism and maintaining team morale, you too have found ways to navigate these turbulent waters. The soft whispers of evening find you slipping away from the crowded interactions, back towards the welcoming silence of the countryside, where nature whirls her own tales in wind and rustle. Historians still argue over how executioners handled the complexities of their uniquely precarious positions. Did they entertain ambitious dreams of climbing the social ladder, or did they remain content in their infamous roles? Anonymity, cloaked within notoriety, straddling lines drawn by society's unspoken rules. Descending into evening's embrace, you retreat towards the familiar cocoon of your home. The mirthful glow from lanterns mimics the steady light of your thoughts as the shadows settle around your figure. Here, among familiar objects and softened contours, you sip something warm, letting the day slip away like the melody of a lullaby. Sleep finds you nestled in the cozy folds of memory and daydreams, a gentle sigh settling inside your chest. As consciousness dwindles, you wander through dreams, charting a course etched into both the everyday and the extraordinary, a timeless tale of navigating lives interwoven into a sleepy patchwork of histories, old and ever new. The next dawn tiptoes softly into the village, wrapping everything in its gentle glow. You stir from your restful slumber, cocooned in the warmth of familiar surroundings, like being brewed in a perfect cup of morning tea. The day ahead promises more than the usual mix of routines and faces, offering a window into the unexpected, those quirky hazards that arise from the juxtaposition of your medieval role with the mundane. With a stretch and yawn that might rival the lengthiest medieval banquet table, you prepare yourself to step into the bracing chill of the outside world. It's a world that offers no digital buffers. Everything is raw and immediate. Each day, a bubbling pot of unpredictability that senses when you've let your guard down just enough for a morsel of chaos to escape. Today's itinerary involves the occasional surprises that pop up in your role. They're the kind that, much like the sneaky half-step drop on a poorly lit road, catch you just out of your periphery. These aren't the kind of workplace hazards that can be fixed with posters and HR emails. Nope, they're more tactile, alive, flavored with a sprinkle of the fantastical. As you tread the familiar path, your feet making soft music on the cobblestones, you think about these quirky hazards. Birds, oddly enough, present a peculiar nuisance, swooping and diving with a penchant for disrupting the more somber elements of your duties. It adds a comedic air to otherwise grave proceedings, like a medieval Monty Python skit you didn't ask to be part of. Imagine trying to deliver a stoic performance when all around you, nature has decided it's time for one of her unprompted improvisations. There's also the matter of theatrical citizens, villagers who lean into their superstitions with vigor, to the extent that a shadow at the wrong time turns them into the unwitting creators of new folk tales. You navigate this sea of perceptions with a deftness akin to avoiding long-lost cousins at a family reunion. Their fears and whispers add layers to your excursion through this colorful tapestry, each thread vivid against the tapestry of time. And then there are the unconventional hazards, like sudden outbursts of forgotten feuds amid public gatherings. Flames from the past that leap up unexpectedly, searing otherwise peaceful days. It requires an unexpected diplomatic touch. Your version of restoring peace by balancing precarious social scales worthy of a perpetual Nobel Peace Prize nominee. Today's peculiar demand is a reminder that these moments underscore the delicate balance between tradition and spontaneity. Historians continue to argue whether this vibrant swirl of variables made life richer or simply muddied the waters. Was it a testament to resilience and adaptability, or did it underscore the chaotic charm threaded into the medieval tapestry? The day matures, shadowy textures stretching luxuriously as if reluctant to relinquish the kaleidoscope of hues marking the sun's path. As the village saunter through its evening chorus, bustling strands of radiant conversation hum around you. The world exudes a quiet, satisfied kind of energy, like hours spent lost in deep conversation while the kettle keeps warm. Back home, you settle into rustic comfort, each corner awash with artifacts from routines well-loved and days deeply cherished. Evening casts its gentle veil over you, stories of the day tangled in mere whispers, each seeking a spot among the night's intricate web. As sleep begins its approach, soft and unhurried, you find respite in the arms of all that's familiar. Your mind drifts through dreamscapes, silent ballets across history, untethered by reality's chains, while the soft murmur of the village weaves a blanket around your slumbering form. In this gentle descent, you let go completely, knowing the dawn will bring with it another chapter in life's quietly unfolding narrative. When the sun peeks through your window the following morning, it's like a gentle nudge, coaxing you back from the world of dreams with its tender warmth. You stir in your bed, ensconced in the quiet, soft rhythms of a new day, finding its beat. The air carries the scent of hope that today might be different, layered with the familiar aroma of fresh bread wafting in from the village bakery as life shakes off its slumber. Today, you'll find yourself contemplating the strange little side gig that some executioners embraced. This dual role as a kind of medieval healer, or, at the very least, a purveyor of half-remembered remedies. It's a curious overlap, kind of like finding out your barista is also an accomplished cello player. A surprise, but one that somehow makes sense. You roll out of bed and gather your things, thinking about these strange intersections that medieval lives offered. Out in the streets, the town hums with its own symphony of sounds. Merchants setting up shop, villagers gossiping like old friends at a coffee shop. Here in the midst of it, you adopt your own peculiar role, weaving through these daily scenes as both a bringer of justice and a sometimes healer of strange ailments. When you set out to lend your half-comprehensible knowledge, a crowd inevitably gathers. Not for the grim specter of justice this time, but for hope that yesterday's rash can find a respite or an aching tooth might be soothed. It's amusing to wonder why the crowd has such faith in your rudimentary treatments. It's sort of like trusting a YouTube tutorial to fix a leaky sink. It's not expert advice, but it's something. And sometimes, something is enough. Let's dive into today's quaint tidbits. Some executioners dabbled in alchemy or rudimentary chemistry, not necessarily turning lead into gold, but perhaps figuring out which herbs had calming properties or which potions might soothe physical discomfort. If you think about it, it is rather akin to tinkering with a new gadget until you get it to work just right, understanding not just the parts, but how they relate in function. Historians are still on the fence about whether these remedial sidesteps were seen as valuable or simply tolerated as an oddity of necessity. Was a man with such a dichotomy of professions regarded with disdain or peculiar reverence? Did they offer healing freely? Or did they extract steep prices for their herbal concoctions? As the day meanders on and shadows start to stretch themselves along the cobblestones, you contemplate the juxtaposition of your role. Both feared for what must be done and sought after for what could be done. It's a perpetual dance of contradictions, light and shadow, playing on the same canvas, which gives life its texture and depth. Back home, dusk settles around you like a familiar embrace. The world quiets down, and the evening air is filled with soft tunes from a distant troubadour's lute floating through your window, the notes mingling with the distant echo of village chatter. These are the moments that feed your soul, providing space to reflect and simply be. As you tuck into bed, the sturdy timber frame creaks like an old friend sharing in your relief. You close your eyes, allowing yourself to drift into sleep's waiting arms. Dreams take shape from the day's events, threading through storied tapestries with laughter and nostalgia, weaving narratives that only the realm of sleep can bring. You let it wash over you, a gentle tide pulling you into a world woven with stories from both the deepest past and the imagined brim of tomorrow. As a new dawn brushes over the village, you awaken to the subtle chorus of nature orchestrating yet another day. The gentle rustling of leaves, the distant clip-clop of hooves over cobblestones, all serve as a gentle reminder. Life moves steadily forward, carrying you along with it. You spring out of bed slower than usual, bracing against the cool air, which feels like a gentle jolt, as refreshing as a cold morning shower might be today. Today's adventure lies in the logistics, or what you might call the medieval commute. It's a little more than a simple stroll to the village square, because like any role requiring coordination and preparation, there's that curious aspect of getting everything and everyone to be where they need to be, exactly when they're supposed to be there. As you embark on your trek, traversing the winding cobblestone paths, you think about these logistical maneuvers. It's far from the modern-day chaos of rush hour traffic or sorting through back-to-back meetings with conference calls shoehorned between tasks on a digital calendar. But it holds its own level of chaos, layered with murmur and rumor, a constant juggling of time and plans. Curiously enough, the procession that unfolds on days when your duties are called into action isn't that different from a miniature parade. At the front are the town criers, announcing the day's events with the seriousness one might expect at a royal coronation. Behind them, the steady plod of carts carrying your tools and essentials rolls forward. The medieval solution to shipping logistics, sans overnight priority delivery. The approach of today's proceedings is marked with a sense of duty swathed in tradition. You're a central figure in this occasional spectacle, someone quietly pulling strings from the margins, a role that thrives on precision, but you'd rather keep free of flair. It's all about keeping the clockwork in motion, ensuring everything falls into place, like the pieces of a meticulously planned group project when everyone finally shows up with their part. A quirky tidbit floats into your thoughts. Sometimes executioners were involved in setting up the platform used for public displays. Imagine the comparisons to putting together flat-pack furniture from the medieval version of IKEA, a woodland clearing or bustling square standing in for your living room floor. There's no incoherent diagram or box of screws you seem always one short of, but the thought of aligning every joint and peg just so carries a certain timeless appeal. Historians still argue whether the large-scale organization of such events was handled fully within the bounds of medieval efficiency, or if every gathering teetered on the brink of chaos. Was this choreography a well-oiled machine, or the equivalent of conducting a concert with no sheet music? The truth, likely, lies in that tantalizing in-between, nestled among the steady rhythm of life continuing on. As the procession winds its way into the square, the pensive faces of villagers greet you, some curious, others resigned, encapsulating the curious cocktail of emotions stirred by the somber ceremony unfolding. At the heart of it, this role is a convergence of paths, a meeting place where time, tradition, and duty forge a conversation without words. With dusk painting its gentle hues across the sky, the day's chapter draws to a close much like a familiar story, slowly binding itself to the rhythm of night. You make your way home through the labyrinthine streets, shadows stretching long and lean, morphing the village into cavernous quietude. Home envelops you with a deep sigh, a space that knows just how to cradle the spirit as it unwinds. The comforting glow of lantern light sends fingers of shadow dancing over the walls, wrapping you in peace. As you settle in, weariness seeps into your bones, and you find yourself languidly drifting into the embrace of sleep. As dreams unfold, you wander through landscapes crafted from the ethereal tapestry where history breathes softly alongside fantasy. The currents of the night carry you further into the depths, cradling you in the full embrace of imagination awakened and stories untold. Ready to greet both yesterday and tomorrow from the perspective of the dreamer at its heart. The morning light sneaks its way across your room, softly awakening you with its golden touch. It's a gentle reminder that the world continues to spin its tales, whether steeped in history or carved from the fresh slate of today. Rising from your comfortable bed, each groan of the mattress like the sigh of an old companion, you prepare for another day as the village's resident executioner, a role as layered and odd as ever. Today, it's time to explore the great debate surrounding your very existence. It's the kind of question that echoes through the village like the clatter of hooves or the wafting aroma of newly baked bread. Why did such a somber figure emerge in societies that also embrace the magical and the mysterious? It's a query that hangs in the air like an elusive song, evoking curiosity amid the daily rhythms. You step out into the morning's embrace, a cloak wrapped securely around you, a makeshift shield against the crisp air. The village stirs to life around you, with the usual medley of sounds and scents, the chatter of vendors, the clink of metalworks, the soft whisper of the marketplace unfurling its tapestry of interactions. Your presence carries with it a certain gravity today, a tangible reminder amid the clamor. There's a palpable pause as you pass by, villagers offering nods or shifting glances the earlier tales of your latest rites probably still fresh in their minds. Oddly enough, your reputation seems to mingle freely with the enchanting stories of magicians who might or might not have turned straw into gold, leaving you pondering how these legends cradle within the same pages of whispered tales. Here's your quirky fact for the day. Executioners often held responsibilities aligned with justice that extended into maintaining order during disturbances. Imagine breaking up disputes like a medieval bouncer, wielding more persuasion than physical presence. A kind of arbitrator role that's less about divvying up magic and more about ensuring order weaves securely through society's fabric. Historians still debate whether the executioner's role emerged as a practical response to societal need, or whether it was a reflection of more profound fears and desires. Is it a testament to humanity's constant dance between light and shadow? A reminder that darkness makes the shimmer of light all the more profound? Or was it simply a necessary cog in the wheel of growing communities striving for measures that echo justice, then woven with today's ideals? Amid this bustling world, the gentle murmur of ongoing debates hum around you, slipping between residents as they navigate familiar paths. You find it fascinating and bemusing as strategies and stories unravel, seeking resonance beneath the village's sprawling roots. As the day ripples with warmth and bustle, conversations play out like a tapestry of differing views, a panorama where paths meander between fact and fiction. People swap questions and answers, inspired not just by the answers themselves, but by the sharing. Like modern musings exchanged over digital forums, combating and commiserating all at once. By evening, a mellowness settles over the village like a comforting blanket. Lanterns glow gently, ushering in tranquility. Their warm light pools along cobblestone edges, layers of shadows offering a benediction to the day's crescendo. Back at home, as night whispers a soothing lullaby, you unwind with a peaceful sigh. Refuge washes over you, inviting you to succumb to the gentle waves of rest. You begin to surrender to sleep, reaching toward dream-rich fluidities where questions simmer and stories unfurl, always bounded by the comforting tether of curiosity. As you drift deeper into this world of slumber, the intricacy of unfolding mysteries cradles you, inviting dreams spun from the heart of mists past. Here, at the nexus of past and present, the symphony of question and answer plays on. Gentle, timeless, unending. As night loosens its grip, the dawn extends its gentle arms, drawing you from the restful embrace of sleep. You allow yourself a few moments to relish the warmth of your bed like a cozy cocoon, pondering the delicate dance between the stories etched in the memory of your village and those yet untold. Each new day begins with its rhythmic unfolding, an invitation to wade through layers of lingering history and fresh tales. Today, you find part of your task involves the unexpected, indulging in the quieter expanses of village life, the small moments where you, the executioner, can blend in with the tapestry of everyday events. It's the medieval equivalent of trying to go incognito or wandering through the paths of normalcy with the same curiosity as when you first learned to ride a bike. Stepping out into the world, your cloak sways with each step, a reassuring weight. The rhythm of village life rises to meet you. Familiar faces, nodding salutations, market chatter interwoven with laughter. It's vibrant and alive, and for a moment, you allow yourself to soak in the ordinary, the vibrancy of mundane interactions, the bricks upon which every grand historical narrative is built. Today's quirky insight unravels as you traverse the morning's delicate dance. Beyond the solemnity of justice, executioners often took part in overseeing other charged affairs within the village framework. They were tasked to guard against fires or manage the communal aspects of public works, a strange juggling of the macabre with the maintenance of societal order, like being the admin of the most chaotic group chat imaginable. Historians still muse over how these additional roles shaped public perception of the executioner. Was their presence reassuring in their multifaceted contributions to order and safety, or were they seen as tools wielded by the caprice of authority? Each part woven from threads of legacy and practical necessity, shaped without the precision of a loom, this role, too, had its own nuanced essence. The afternoon carries with it a soothing cadence, scenes unfurling like reels of a medieval drama steeped in the simplicity and complexities of daily life. You find comfort in this, the small exchanges, unresolved debates that simmer without reaching a boil, much like the near end of a long board meeting where everyone just wants to get to lunch. The villagers seem content to exist within these echoes of familiarity, their lives layered with the might be and the once was. As the day wanes, a golden glow spills across the land, shadows stretching longer, like storytellers embellishing their tales. The village quietens into a soft murmur, the air taking on a gentle coolness that pricks at your cheeks, like a playful reminder of seasons yet to turn. Evening finds you at home, the fire casting its warm whispers upon the walls. The gentle hiss of logs settling fills the room like the faint hum of a song. You curl up with a thick woolen throw, contemplating the story of another day, now immortalized in the annals of time. As the weight of the day recedes with the evening's embrace, your eyes begin to close. You drift into the entrancing fold of dreams, a venture through realms where time's intricacies unravel, weaving an endless dance between fact and the wonderings of imagination. In sleep, you are both archivist and participant, navigating dreamscapes ripe with wonder and curiosity. The cadence of stories lulls you further into slumber, etching pathways through the land of dreams, bridging the quiet complexities of yesterday with the whisper of tomorrow's promise.